Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Liz Bridgewater, the Director of Outreach at Climate Action Now. It will be just a few moments while people continue to gather. While we're waiting for everyone to join, I invite you to answer the icebreaker trivia question that you'll see pop up in the chat today. All right, you should be seeing that question now. Our question today is, where are you joining from? And if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? If you're feeling up for it, please also share your video so we can all see each other today. We will be recording this event and it will be available publicly online. We'll also send out the recording after this event. I'm very grateful that everyone is here today because even though the news has been upsetting for multiple reasons lately, there is still hopeful information about the climate. We just don't hear enough about it. So thank you for joining us today to get your October dose of monthly hope. Let's get started by taking an action inspired by our speaker Victor's work. For that, I'll pass things over to Kaylee Beam.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Kaylee Beam, Director of Content at Climate Action Now. We appreciate you humoring us with our little icebreaker question in the chat. This was a fun one, and if you haven't answered yet, keep those answers coming. We want to know what trees you would be if you were a tree. So before we transition into the live interview, like Liz said, we're going to warm up by taking an action together, inspired by our featured speaker's work. So if this is your first time hearing about Climate Action Now, our app and website make it easy to send well-researched, personalized messages to political decision makers and business leaders. You'll be able to take action using the app or website today, but one added benefit of using the app is that you can earn points by taking action, and when you earn enough points, our friends at the EarthLungs Reforestation Foundation, who we're honored to be joined by today, will plant a real tree on your behalf. So let me share my screen and show you just how easy it is to take action in the app. You should be seeing it shortly. There we go. All right, so this is a sample action, and as you can see, it only takes 3 touches to take an action. First, you touch Do It Now. Then you can choose how you want to contact the decision maker that you're reaching out to. Because the app has your address, it knows who your federal, state, and sometimes local officials are. Then you just have to hit send, and you've taken action. Earlier, I mentioned earning points toward a real tree. So far, the Climate Action Now community has planted over 390,000 trees together, which is pretty incredible. So now that you've seen a sample action, that brings us to the action we'll be taking together today. We'll be urging our state leaders to introduce deforestation-free procurement legislation. So go ahead and take out your phones or tablets, and open up your camera app. If you have or want to download the Climate Action Now app, you can use the QR code box on the left. And as you're pointing your camera at the QR code, a little pop-up that says Climate Action Now should appear. Once it does, just tap on it to get to today's action. If you don't have the app already, tapping that bubble will take you to the App Store where you can download it for free. And once you have the app, all you need to do is follow the prompts to sign up, and it will take you right to today's action. And of course, if you're not on the app or prefer to take action using a web form, feel free to scan the QR code on the right instead. And if it's not working for you, don't worry. I'll be dropping direct links to the actions in the chat if that's easier. So that's all from me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but turn my camera into the action slide so you still have access to it. And now I'll hand things back over to Liz to introduce our speakers and get things started. Over to you, Liz.
Thanks so much, Kaylee. Today, Sam Matey, the editor-in-chief at Climate Action Now, will be talking with our expert guest speaker, Victor Mwanga. Sam authors the Dose of Climate Hope Substack newsletter for Climate Action Now. Dose of Climate Hope illustrates new technologies, policy solutions, people, and trends that give us reason to be hopeful about the climate. Victor Mwanga is the CEO and founder of EarthLungs Reforestation Foundation. EarthLungs is the largest tree planting organization in Kenya, having planted over 42 million trees across both Kenya and Tanzania. EarthLungs' work combines community mobilization, site-specific ecological expertise, and long-term monitoring to ensure a lasting impact. In addition to his role as CEO and founder of EarthLungs, Victor has advanced the field of sustainable forestry as chairman of the Bamboo Association of Kenya, founder of the Kenya Bamboo Pioneers Network, and director of the Bamboo Value Chain Center. EarthLungs Reforestation Foundation partners with Climate Action Now to plant the trees that can doers earn by taking action in the app, as well as planting the trees that are offered in our subscriptions. Our team is so incredibly grateful to Victor for this chance to learn directly from him today about how the tree planting that we engage with as a community can create benefits for both people and the climate. We'll now transition into our live interview. As you hear from Victor and Sam, please share any questions you'd like to contribute in the chat. Over to you, Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam Matey, and I am super excited to be talking with Victor Mwanga, leader of the incredible EarthLungs Reforestation Foundation today. So we actually have had a previous interview between Victor and I that was not live, but recorded, transcribed, and used to set up an article. Then that was just about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago today, in October 2024. So I've put the link to that in the chat. And today we'll be going over some of that same origin story, but also I am super excited to ask Victor about the big range of amazing progress he's made since then. Thanks in part, primarily due to the incredible work of Victor and his team, and supported in part by the revenue stream but from Climate Action Now and from people like you who have taken actions on the app and bought trees on the app. So Victor, to start with, for folks who haven't heard it before, could you share sort of the origin story of the EarthLungs Reforestation Foundation? Like, this is not this is now a titan of an organization. You've gone from planting like your cumulative total of trees has gone from like 32 million a year ago when I spoke to you last to 55 million now. You're expanding into new countries, but this started with basically you in Kenya, a couple of your friends in a dream. So could you tell me that story?
I think
I
we may
think we're
be.
having a spot of
Yeah,
technical trouble.
yeah, we may have some kind of connection issue. Victor was here a second ago. We were just talking with him.
I still see him in the chat. I don't see video or audio though, so maybe there's an internet issue or some other issue.
Well, that is
Irving?
the we
Yeah, and I noticed he was in the meeting twice, and I'm sure he's trying to get back in. I'm sure that's guaranteed. Um,
well, how about you fill in this time with the story of how you met Victor and heard about his work and sort of forge the connection between Climate Action Now and EarthLungs?
yeah, that's a good, and we're not going to be wasting any time because I was going to take 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the hour, so we can just move that here to the front to give Victor time to join us. Yeah, so from the very beginning, oh, there he is. He's in the
There
waiting
he
room,
is. He's back. Okay.
and we'll let him back in. He went off to plant some trees. The guy's a crazy man, I tell you. He's just,
So devoted. Yeah. All right. So
hey, George, this is a dog-free zone. Sorry.
no, we're fine with dogs.
Usually it's cats. I don't know what it is. Okay.
I'm so sorry about that. I just lost my network, and I hope it's going to be stable. This is the second time today.
Aw.
Well, good.
Well, fingers
Impressive work
crossed.
on getting it back quickly.
All right. Well, why don't you start over, Sam? I mean, pick up where you left off, Sam.
So, Victor, I was just saying that you have now reached a really big, fast-growing, fast-expanding organization that's planted tens of millions of trees. You've gone from like 32 million trees last time I spoke to you last year to over 55 million today. But this all started with just you and your friends in Kenya and your dream. So can you tell me, once again, for those who haven't heard it before, the origin story of EarthLungs?
Thank you so much, Sam, and great speaking with you again, and sharing in the growth, in the progress, in the exciting things that are happening. So first, before I even get into it, I'd like to pass a very sincere congratulatory message to the EarthLungs team that has joined in this session today. that without them we would not be in here today, and I would not be speaking about the achievements today. The other um, message of gratitude that I'd like to pass is to Brett, because when we started this this activity together, there was absolutely nothing to talk about. We were looking at each other and asking. I mean, Brett was asking, "Can you guys plant 100 trees?" And just as I said in the last interview, Sam, that it doesn't matter if we are planting 10 million trees for one partner, and we're planting 10 million, and we're planting 100 trees for another partner. For us, it is indeed the trees that we plant. So we give the same energy, we give the same dedication and the same focus to their tree. And it's incredible that when we started planting trees with the climate action now, of just about $1,000 every quarter, that today we are able to plant trees in a month that is equivalent to probably another 6 or 7 years based on what used to be there before. So the last donation that we got from climate action now actually kind of pulled us out from the comfort zone, and we were like, hey, hang on a second. We don't know the next donation we're going to get from climate action now, how big it's going to be. And so we need to start preparing ourselves. And so from just putting in about 20,000 to 30,000 seedlings that would be ready for the next funding that comes in from climate action now. Today, Brett, and I'm saying this with a lot of confidence and with a lot of pride in the team that is out there in the Climate Action Now dedicated site, that we have 337,000 seedlings ready, awaiting your next action to us, giving us the go ahead to go and plant. So, just very many thanks to Climate Action Now for having the faith, and the EarthLungs team for always being prepared for us to go to the next level. Now, how did it all begin? It began with passion. So it's not about it's not really about the science that the team brings along. It is the passion. And so every time, even as we go in looking for anybody who's willing to work with us in tree growing, our first gauge of whether that is the right person to fit into the DNA is the passion. Is this a guy who just loves to go out there and do what is right, get green spaces filled up. And so, beginning in with about 11 members of staff in EarthLungs, today we have grown up to about 867 passionate green space warriors that I am so proud of. And it is this number that has pushed the numbers that you're talking about, Sam, today, over 50 million trees, starting off with one site in Kenya, expanding to 19, and then crossing over to go to Tanzania, where we now have 25 sites active. And just this afternoon, about an hour, 2 hours ago, we were speaking with the team in Mozambique, because we are setting up Mozambique as our next frontier, and we are thinking that by first of November, we will put down our first tree in Mozambique. So it's been incredible just to be in this space, to look at more so the radiating smiles just coming out of the field. I know more often than not, Africa is touted to be a continent where you see sad faces, poverty, a lot of negative stories. But when you guys make time and calm down here, you're meeting radiating faces, people who are looking forward to go in and plant the next tree and bring up the next generation of trees.
That is spectacular, Victor. And that is one of the many reasons I'm so excited to talk to you about today, because you guys are doing incredible things. You've expanded since I last talked to you into your second country, Tanzania, and planted over 10 million trees there. You're expanding into a third country next month. You and you're going down the whole Indian Ocean coast, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, and that's just incredibly impressive. So could you tell me more sort of what your process looks like? Like you have, as I recall from our previous interview, a fascinating range of sort of modeling and verification technology that you use to be sure you're planning in the white spaces, how you select places, how you select locals. Could you talk more about that process? Like you mentioned that for in Kenya you use Kenyan Forest Service data on degraded areas to find trees to plant. How are you finding areas to plant in Tanzania and Mozambique? Is there similar government data available? Are you make how are you following that same track of finding connection with the local community to get locals? Like that whole multifaceted model that you do. Can you talk more about that?
All right. So one of the things that we deliberately chose to do was to plant and grow trees in areas where they be protected. So how do you do that? In the Kenyan constitution, same as it is with the Tanzanian constitution and the Mozambican constitution, there are three types of forests. So the first forest is your personal forest. So on your piece of land, you grow trees and so on and so forth. In the African tradition, a father has to leave or demarcate land for his children, daughters and sons. So you could be a father who has 100 hectares of land, and you decide that you want to grow your trees. But then when time comes for your children to get your inheritance, you you demarcate and divide and subdivide your land into pieces so that every one of your children has a piece of land. Perhaps these guys are not interested in raising a forest in the same way that you've raised a forest. So they come and cut down all the trees. So that is the first one. The second one is community forests. Community forests are held by the community for cultural activities and what have you. But then because of population explosion and people wanting to expand and create more land for agricultural activities, those cultural forests, the community forests, then come under threat. But then there is the publicly gazetted forests, which are forests that are held by the governments in trust of the people. And so they are fully protected. However, sometimes these indigenous forests suffer a bit of illegal harvesting, or there could be a fire, or basically issues of climate change. So the law is very clear. You cannot go in and cut trees in gazetted forests. So we get into a memorandum of understanding under something that is called Adopt a Forest Framework for Collaboration, that then allows us in to go and identify degraded forest landscapes that require human intervention to be restored back to healthy forest landscapes. So once that is done, we are sure that there's protection, that nobody's going to harvest those trees. And I'll talk a little bit about beyond trees and how that reads into the whole thing of conserving and protecting trees. So in
Yeah,
addition
absolutely. Tell
to
me about your Beyond Trees program. That's amazing. Just flagging that as sort of a section break for people to see. This is another thing that I want to ask you about. Your Beyond Trees program to build community wealth is also spectacular.
yes, absolutely. So those trees are then protected, they are taken care of. So one of the things that we deliberately decided to do was when we looked at our structure and we wanted 80% of the funding that we get to go directly to the areas of intervention. Because more often than not, as an organization, you have to look at account holders, sales agents, and so on and so forth. So you end up with about 60% going into overheads in administration. So we looked at it and said, how do we make that difference so that 80% can actually reach to that very deserving person who's taking care of these trees? So we partnered with Veritree, who basically agreed to carry our backbone of account management, to carry our backbone of tree reporting in a way that is ethical and is transparent, so that every time we tell Brett that we've planted 100 trees and we've had a survival count of 90 trees, he is so certain that when he comes on the ground, he'll find the 90 trees are surviving. So that then allowed us to free a lot of what would have gone into development of apps to help monitor that, employment of people to be account managers, just sitting in the office and managing accounts and so on and so forth. So that allowed us to break that cycle. And today, we are so happy that 80%, and sometimes we get to 82%, going directly into villages, into creating wealth centers, into ensuring that there is scientific knowledge that marries into indigenous knowledge, and that we are able now to bring back thriving forests and thriving wealth centers in very remote areas of Kenya, Tanzania, and soon Mozambique. So that has been the story. And the story is that we want to break away from when organizations, people, philanthropic businesses would support tree growing, but they never used to know exactly whether the trees are there or they're not there. And there was a lot of double dipping, a lot of reporting of photo planting, where guys go in, they plant few trees, they take photos, they push them out into social media handles. But then when you come onto the actual activity, there's nothing to talk about. So we've actually, with just working with organizations like Climate Action Now that are demanding transparency, that are demanding ethical tree planting, that are demanding to see evidence that there's actually a social, environmental, and economic buildup that has allowed us to disrupt the scene in a way that everybody now is following cue and doing what is right. And doing what is right is planting that tree, even when no one is looking at you, that you know that you are planting that tree.
Absolutely. Yeah, your survival rates and your sort of just general high quality of operation is really impressive. I've done some work with on the ground reforestation efforts in Madagascar, and survival rates of young seedlings, even in tropical areas with a long growing season, like near the equator where you are, is rough. Like a lot of things can kill a young tree. Browsing animals, livestock, like floods, droughts, wildfires, and despite all of that, you're hitting around like 90% survival rates for seedlings. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's because this is our office. Just in the same way that you must you wake up every morning to report to your office and do work, that is what we also do. The 867 people on board who are contracted staff and the close to 3,000 who are temporary staff, we all wake up in the morning to go to our office, and our office is the planting site. So, in the same way that if you leave your office unattended for 6 months, you'll find spider cobs there, you'll find dust on the seats, probably there'll be dampness in there because you've been away. But if you're there every day, it means that your office is sparkling clean, fresh air every day. So by going into these sites every day, we are giving the sites the fresh air. We are able to monitor trees and find out whether they are growing or not. We are able to say whether there been animals that have been browsing. How do we create an intervention? For instance, people fight with elephants. That elephants come into an area to browse on young trees. So what do? We basically grow green pepper around the perimeter, and every time the elephants sniff the scent of pepper, they can't cross that line. Or just putting a little trench, the elephants can't jump over a trench, however little it is. So looking at rudimentary but interventions that are able to ensure that the trees are protected. And once the trees are protected and they've gotten to self-sustenance level, then you can let the animals come in and browse, because then they are going to increase even the diversity of the trees, because as they go in, as they throw their dung, within the dung there is more seeds, and that means that now you have a lot more of biodiversity improvement.
All right, awesome. So I love you already touched on this. Can you tell me more about the ecosystems you're working in? Like a lot of where you're working is mangroves. And you're also mentioning elephants. Do elephants range into those sort of coastal mangrove adjacent areas you walk in Kenya, or elephants only present in some of your more inland tree planting areas? And what other sort of ecosystem connections are you seeing in the mangroves? Are you seeing issues with sea level rise, with storms? Like, can you tell me more about the different landscapes that you plant in and what sort of unique sort of challenges and opportunities there are?
So just in the same way that you look forward to a holiday, to go to a nice beach,
Yeah.
go and enjoy, animals have the same instinct. They want to go for holiday. So once in a while, you find them out in the mangroves enjoying the beach and just sunbathing. So it's a very normal occurrence. All we want to do is to make sure that we don't interfere with their cycle of going on holiday. Indeed, yes, we do quite a lot in mangroves because the most vulnerable communities are those that are close to large water bodies like the Indian Ocean. So anytime there's a change in the tidal behaviors or their waves, that tends to get into communities and affect them. And then mangroves become the shock absorbers. They become the wall fence that
Living
is able
seawall.
to, yes, so is able to
Yeah.
take care of that. But then where we are working with climate action now is an area that has been degraded for many years. And unfortunately, a number of people have lost life because of mudslides and landslides. And on top of that, a lot of infrastructural development has been washed away, including people's homes, railway lines, and roads. And it's because this area is on the foot of the Aberdare Ranges, which is one of the five water towers in Kenya. So what happens is when there's a lot of rainfall in the highlands, in the upstream, the water starts coming down. Initially, there used to be a forest, and so the water could percolate in and then slowly come down and would offer underground water to even towns and residential areas, communities further downstream. But then these forests were lost because of illegal harvesting about 10, 15, no, more than 15 years ago, about 20 years ago. And so then what happens is when the water comes, there's no root system that is holding the soil together. So before you know it, the whole thing just starts going down. And we've had mudslides that have gone for about 23 kilometers, just carrying everything in their way. But since we started planting trees in this area and just ensuring that there's less grazing of animals in the area and that people appreciate that you need trees, you can already see that there's a lot of change first in human behavior towards illegal logging. Two, farms owned by individuals, people coming out, including EarthLungs staff, and going back in their homes and planting and growing trees. We've started seeing animals coming back, and we had a very one of one of my colleagues, David Nakwawi, who does our drone mapping and media development and all that, was in that area about a year and a half ago, and we've never witnessed any hyenas in that area. But he went in as he was walking, doing his monitoring. He came into close contact with a hyena, and
Oh,
so he
that's
decided,
awesome.
yeah, he decided that he was going to take another route out. As he took that route out, about 100, 200 meters away, he found a python that was laying on the ground. So he was caught between between a rock and a hard place. Luckily, he was able to come out, and so those are some of the things that we face out there. There's also sometimes you go into ecosystems that have been degraded and you find animals, and we've experienced this with the Very Tree team when they were down here taking their content. We went into an area out in the mangroves, and as we went by boat through the channel, there are hippopotamus and the crocodiles that predominantly live in the fresh water. But because of human activities, they've been forced to come into the ocean water. So when they come into the ocean water and its salinity, we suspect that it kind of messes their mental awareness and alertness. So they start charging towards the boat. So at that point, you need to accelerate, you need to get yourself out there. But thankfully, all this time, with the indigenous knowledge, the guys from the community are able to tell us how to react to different situations. And thankfully, we've not had any incident out there. But that is what keeps us going, that if we are able to get the environment to what it used to be, then these animals are going to find a natural home where they belong. And so they don't need to come out there and cause havoc on farms or become a danger to people. And it's just because there's someone out there who believes in climate action now, has decided to put away some funds that would have gone into maybe buying food. So someone has decided to skip lunch to donate towards a tree. And that tree, one is making an animal find a home. It's making a community member out there be able to take children to school, have proper shelter, be able to put meals on their table, invest away from kerosene lamps and start using sustainable lighting like solar. And when you go out in the villages there, you find kids who are happy that they used to have less school days, but now they have more school times. You find a shopkeeper, for instance, who used to stock perhaps 5 kilograms of sugar for a whole village because nobody was able to afford sugar. But now that sugar, the same shopkeeper is now stocking 100 kilos, which means that they are sure that even if they put stock within their shops in the villages, there is the purchasing power. So you can imagine what $5,000, for instance, can do in a village of about 80 people. That every month there is $5,000 that is getting into that community. So it's not just about the trees. It's not just about the animals, the people. The small auxiliary businesses that just start coming up. That there's someone who has had their tailoring machine sitting idle. Now, because parents can have an income, they can now get their kids to school, and the kids going to school require uniform. So you find someone who's a tailor there now making uniform for the school-going kids. That a shop that never used to stock books, they are now stocking books because the children need books, and the books, they go with them to school. So you guys may not understand, speaking to us about 13,000, 14,000 miles away from us, you may not understand the impact, but the impact is real. That when you see it, you basically see a community going through a metamorphosis of coming in from a place of despair to a place of laughter, to a place of joy, to a place of happiness, and it's just amazing.
That is wonderful, Victor. And that's a big part of what I love about this, because tree planting and ecosystem restoration at this scale isn't just about the environment, it's about people. It's an economic stimulus package. It's similar to like how in the United States in the 1930s, President Roosevelt created the Civilian Conservation Corps to employ people to plant trees during the Great Depression, and that built a bunch of beautiful parklands that we're still using today, and also employed a lot of people. And like you, and this is this, and you're doing that. Like you are a private conservation corps foundation in Kenya that is creating villages that have this economic lifeline that is being employed to restore ecosystems. It's a win-win-win on so many levels, and that is just incredible. And wow, that is just beautiful. And you mentioned Beyond Trees before, but could you talk about some of the specific practices that you're also working and promoting in these local livelihoods, like beekeeping, bamboo, marine agriculture, like ecotourism, some of the other sort of initiatives that you're fostering to sort of diversify this this benefit that you're bringing with the tree planting walk?
One of the biggest risks in life is getting employed. When you get employed, you're certain that you will one day retire, or you'll one day be asked to go home. You don't know when it is. The tree planting cycle is very defined. You know that you'll start at this point, and within 5 years, you'll have finished planting trees in that particular area, or 7 years. So anybody who's employed, they know that in the next 3 years, I won't have a job. Or in the next 5 years, I won't have a job. In the next 7 years, I won't have a job. So that is a reality check. And now, you are used to a level of comfort of having a meal, of having decent wages, of having a decent house, of taking your children to school, of not worrying too much about Medicare, because for everybody who's employed by EarthLungs, they're on what is called the social health insurance, which allows them and their dependents, whenever they are unwell, they can walk into a public facility or a faith-based organization facility or different levels of medical facilities and get treated for free by just showing the membership card. So now, this person is looking at 5 years, and maybe the children are 2 years away from finishing school, or they've just joined secondary school, and they're wondering, what are they going to do next? And that is why there's been a problem and a cycle over the years that there's a lot of tree planting activities that have happened in Africa. But then the forest cover is not increasing. And the question is why? Because after that cycle, you and I walk away to go and do other things or go into a new country like we are going into Mozambique and forget about the guys in Kenya. So what do? The only resource that is around them is the most important resource in the world today, which is trees. But in as much as you're putting a lot of importance to the tree growing activities between yourself and I and the EarthLungs administration team, the people out there in the community go back not because they want to destroy, but because they don't have any other alternative resource around them. They go back to the same trees that they planted and they start cutting them down. So negating all the efforts that they put in place. And yes, it takes about 20, 30, 40, 50 years to grow a tree, but it takes less than 1 hour to bring that tree down. So that is what we are trying to address with Beyond Trees. So what does Beyond Trees do? Beyond Trees, and that is why we have the B to signify apiculture. So we look at this forest that climate action now is helping to restore. How many hives can it hold? What is its holding capacity for hives? Then we say it can hold up to 1,000 hives based on scientific calculations that our apiculture team does. Then we ask ourselves, how many hives can support one staff member out there and still be able to support the administration team? And we say 10 hives, for instance. So then we say, so if we have 60 people in that particular area, we require 1,200 hives, and 1,200 hives would be able to produce enough to continue employing the 60 people and at the same time continue supporting the administration team in the office that is helping to put all these dreams together. Now, so we look at the most known product out of beekeeping, which is honey. So we've started now developing the value chains for honey, and we're looking at going into pollen, looking at going into royal jelly, and so on and so forth, the holding capacity, so that by the time we are finishing growing trees on behalf of climate action now in that region, nobody is going home. Everybody is transitioning from being a tree planting technician or a seedling raising technician to what are called scouts. And basically what scouts do is they protect and conserve the forest by going around checking that every tree that was planted is growing and it's growing healthy, and that there's nobody who's coming in to destroy it. Because we can put fences around restored ecosystems. We can put drones up in the air, but the best fence that can ever be in a formerly degraded ecosystem is the human fence, because the people surrounding that forest understand the benefit. Now water regeneration is happening. The bees there are doing cross-pollination, so that means that there's about 60% increment in food production. There is value chains that have been developed for beehives, which is honey, pollen, royal jelly, wax, and all those things. And then there's ecotourism. People are coming in to see these wealth centers that are actually producing bee products. So once you have that shield around the forest, nobody's going to come from outside of the community to get into a forest and start destroying it. And so there comes in the issue of wealth creation centers, that you have these centers that now, out of the sustainable income that is coming through, the shops continue to thrive. Kids who would have stopped in school and not continue are now transitioning into university. They know that by going to university, it's out of a forest that was conserved. And so they go out there, big ambassadors than their parents in what forests can do to change lives. So a kid who would never have gone to school has now gone to school to the highest level. When they go in there, chances that they are going to become agricultural specialists or environmental specialists are very high, because they themselves are beneficiaries of what it has been to restore a forest. So again, going back to what I was speaking to Brett about, is that the impact is much bigger than what is seen when that donation for a tree is made. The other thing that we realized, that even as we wait for the bamboo to grow, because the bamboo will take about 4 or 5 years to grow, what are the low-hanging fruits? So there's something called fungiculture, which is basically growing of mushrooms. It takes 30 days for mushroom to come out of a spawn to food, and it's highly nutritious. So we've put up mushroom grow houses that we're experimenting on. We've had very good feeling. Kenya is importing 60% of its mushroom from neighboring countries. So why can't we take advantage of that market linkage that is there to start working on something? And so you have a father who's working in the restoration area, but then the wife, who's the mother to the children, comes and works in the mushroom grow house. So instead of just having one revenue, you now have two revenues coming into that same community. Now, as that is happening, the mushroom is growing, the bees are producing bee products, the bamboo is growing. So the bamboo then becomes another natural shield to the restored forest. But then it's able to provide firewood, fuel wood. It's able now to be harvested sustainably and create items that are more superior to solid wood, yet they are easily accessible. Now, all the children that have gone to school, to technical and vocational institutions, to do carpentry, masonry, plumbing, electrical engineering, have a resource around them that they can use on what they were trained in school. So probably in the next 4 or 5 years, in the climate action now offices, there will be bamboo desks that have come out of the same community that initially did not have any source of income, to now driving cottage industries and driving light commercial industries within villages.
That is spectacular. I really thank you so much for sharing this detailed portrayal of the wealth, the multidimensional wealth, not just monetary wealth, but ecological wealth, human health wealth, the family security, like the immense power of everything that you're doing and everything that you're building in these communities. Using the restoration of an ecosystem, which is great for animals and protects against and creates living seawalls when it's on the coast to protect to abate wave energy and protect communities. All the benefits of ecological restoration, plus you use that money and that economic activity to build whole new, more sustainable economies for these communities. That is deeply admirable, Victor, and I really appreciate you sharing this story with us. And could you talk a little about how this is going on in sort of the bigger context of Kenya's development and sort of East Africa's development as a whole? Because I've been seeing some really impressive numbers coming out of the countries you walk in lately. Like Kenya's grid has a lot of more clean energy coming online with geothermal, solar power. You've got your president Ruto of Kenya setting admirably high nationwide goals for tree planting. You've got uh, development Michaels being hit in Tanzania. How do you see sort of the work you do as part of the broader sort of development and environmental sort of progress going on in East Africa?
So one of the things that we need to appreciate is that because of loss of trees, forest cover, the the issues of climate change are real and they're happening. And it's not anything that we can wish away today. So even, I mean, when we grew up in the 70s, in the 80s, you knew exactly when the rains will start and when the rains will end. Today, we cannot predict that because of issues of climate change. So that is affecting farmers. So it speaks into the issue of what are governments doing today to ensure that there's some level of certainty in ensuring that the rains come in at the right time, the farmers are properly prepared to put their crops down. And so that has led to governments in Africa, and particularly so in East Africa, putting in very concrete national determined contributions towards issues of climate change. That what is it that we are going to do? What is it that we don't need to do? And even as we transition more towards geothermal, the geothermal power, much as it's clean and it's sustainable, and our hydroelectric power, unless we conserve ecosystems, the wells will dry. The geothermal power will not be there. The hydroelectric power will not be there. So all these things that governments are speaking to and speaking into to say that this is where Africa needs to go, unless we sort out the issues of climate change, then that is going to become very difficult. Look at one of the most amazing phenomena of the world, which is the wild-beast migration that happens between Kenya and Tanzania. It is 100% dependent on the Mara River.
Yeah.
And when you trace the action, the climate action now site that we are working on, there is small rivers and tributaries that come out of that feed into the main Mara. So
Wow.
so if you don't address the issues of the water flowing, and the water in from these areas flows into Lake Victoria, and I'll come back to the wild-beast migration. It flows into Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria, then, which has one of the largest hydroelectric power stations in Uganda. So we could be doing an injustice to the ecosystem in Kenya, but the biggest injustice is actually into Lake Victoria, because now that Bujagali Falls in Jinja in Uganda is not able to produce any power. So that means that the government there and then would start looking at other unsustainable production of power, either going into coal and what have you. So it may be the little things that we are talking about, or little interventions that we are doing, but collectively they speak into the issue of what is the quality of water that gets into the Mediterranean through the Nile, because all these rivers are pouring into the Lake Victoria, and Lake Victoria then crosses through all those countries. So that means Egypt won't have food, the Mediterranean Sea will get more salty, and because it's a big cycle, then the Indian Ocean will start having issues. Coming to the wild-beast migration, everybody globally wants to come and look at this phenomenon that happens. And it is the crocodiles waiting for the wild-beast to come out of the dry season in Tanzania, cross over the Mara River to come to the greener part, which is in Kenya, feed there and forage there over a period of time. And once the rains go back into the Serengeti, they cross again and go. And the crocodiles have been conditioned through their generations to know that this is when the wild-beast migration is happening. And so instead of now taking a dive through the water and crossing the Mara River to the other side, because there's no water and there's no enough water to allow that swim across the Mara, these guys are able just to cross through as if they are crossing through a zebra crossing. Uh, no risk at all crossing into the other side, and the crocodiles are disappearing. So it is these little interventions that are keeping the world alive, making sure that the River Nile gets enough water, the Congo Basin is getting enough water all the time. The wild beast migration is happening, and there's precipitation in the air all the time, ensuring that the rains come when they are supposed to come.
Yeah, this is a great point. The work you're doing is underpinning the fundamental basis of the ensuring tree cover in watersheds to ensure consistent river flow, ensuring the continued existence of a migration that's one of the great natural spectacles of Earth and a huge ecotourism driver for Kenya and Tanzania. Like the ramifications are huge, like you're saying. And I did not know that one of your sites was in the Mara River, was in the tributary of the Mara River that flows through the Masai Mara. That's really amazing. I didn't know that. Um, wow. So we are nearing the end of the hour. I've asked you a bunch of questions. Is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't already discussed, Victor?
So the the world today is looking for good people. And there are very few good people remaining in the world today. And among us, a few good people that we know is anybody in Climate Action Now and the people
I'm flattered.
who
Thank you.
support the activities in Climate Action Now because they are good. Yeah, the good that Climate Action Now is doing good to communities that would never have had any decent lives to live and be proud of. What organizations that do tech like Verity are doing now, they may think that they're just developing a system on an Android phone that is just as simple as that. But that is what is driving change, that all of us seated miles apart can still come together and be able to see the great work that is happening. If it is not for the transparency and accountability and the ethical tree planting that we is the bedrock of EarthLungs, would probably still be planting trees worth $1,000 every quarter with Brett. But we are happy that the change is not just happening within EarthLungs, that the change is also happening on the other divide, and that we are able to showcase that when two great organizations with great minds come together, then great things happen.
Wow, thank you. I think I am incredibly flattered and honored. And honestly, it means a lot to me that when I do this writing, that's helping widen the funnel of people who know about your work and can buy tweets to support your work. I am honored to part of you guys are really good people, and the world really needs people like you. And I am honored that our work at Climate Action Now can help support you. So thank you so much.
The pleasure is all ours, and I'm sure the EarthLungs team is truly excited about the next phase. And we look forward to growing together, and we look forward to inviting all of you guys to come down and just look at the incredible work that you're doing. Enjoy the spirit of welcome that is in this part of Africa, and let us continue doing what is right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this is extraordinary. Um,
Oh,
wow, thank you. Brett, is there anything you want to add to
yeah,
that?
I do want to jump in, but Liz, I like to wrap up the hour with everybody, but Liz, is there any final
Thank you,
housekeeping
Victor.
you need to you go over?
Let's just say
Okay.
thank you, Victor. Round of applause for Victor and round of applause for all the folks from his team on the call right now.
Yeah, and everybody, all of you showing up. This is amazing, right? You guys rock. And Victor, we're so proud to have so happy to have found you and so proud to be able to support this amazing work. I just doubled, tripled my information about what you guys are doing. And I knew it was good stuff. It's even better than I knew. Um, in the last few minutes here, as you know, Climate Action Now is all about um, converting thoughts into action, and action is the antidote to despair. And I just want to say, um, I did my homework. We originally started our tree planting with another outfit called Eden Reforestation, which was a terrific organization, but they went in a different direction. So I had to kind of find another tree planting partner, and I interviewed maybe half a dozen groups. And it is really, really difficult to find an organization that is really what it says it is and is really doing the right things. Reforestation, permanent forestation. Other organizations, they'll plant trees, yeah, but they don't tell you that those trees are going to be cut down in 10 years and used for firewood or for timber. That's not happening here. We're helping Victor reforest natural forests, and you've seen kind of the methodologies that he uses. So supporting him is really a wonderful thing for the Candor community to do. It also helps Climate Action Now because we can't do this without with your support. So what I want to show you is just in our couple final minutes here are some of the ways that you can help support Victor and also support Climate Action Now. And so the very first subscription product we created, I called Save the Planet subscription. And for a certain amount of money every month, we plant trees. Now, who plants the trees? Not me. Victor does. So,
And all the other awesome folks on the call.
yeah, so if you're a citizen subscriber, we'll be funding Victor to plant 10 trees. And if you're a Guardian subscriber, every month we plant 30 trees on your behalf and so on with that. Now, oh, and by the way, I want to say the other things that you get with that subscription, you are avoiding carbon emissions. And we're doing that through a new partner who Sam just published an interview with Lasser Feasley, who's the executive director of renewables.org. This is another incredibly cool organization like EarthLungs. We're just blown away to have found renewables.org. What they are doing is they're funding solar in the global south. And the bang you get for your buck with solar in the global south is 5x what you get in the global north. Read that interview. Maybe Sam, you could put a link to that interview in
Already
the
on it.
chat for people to read that. So that's where some of that money is also going. It's going to renewables.org to help plant to also deploy solar. And then we work with another fabulous partner, conserve.org, to protect and preserve forever vital habitat. And currently the habitat that we're preserving is habitat in the high desert, in the Oregon high desert. So that's the Planet Saving subscription. Wow, and then also some portion of that money goes to supporting Climate Action Now. Now, when we just talk about Victor's group, and we have our most popular option here is product is Give the Gift of Trees. So you can choose a number of trees you want. You want to gift to somebody, type in, their name and their email address and a date and a message. And then on that date, we'll send a message to your recipient, explaining that you have gifted them the tree, nice picture, telling them about EarthLungs. It's a great product. It's a gift. It's a gift that just keeps on giving, right? And then the next thing we did was, well, actually we created another thing in memory of. If you want to plant trees in honor of or in memory of a loved one, this is a fantastic way to do that. And you can notify other loved ones that you've done that. And then we just this last year started Trees for Travel. And so, travel is just one of those things. Air travel is just one of those things, most people, no matter how passionate they are about the planet, they just can't get away from it. Well, if you're going to have to travel, fine. I mean, then this will allow you to kind of through Victor's trees reabsorb the carbon that has been emitted, by the planes on your air travel. And there's a calculator here. You say what air travel class you're going to be taking, how many miles you'll be traveling. how many passengers, and there's an opportunity to buy extra trees. And I do that because, even with his 90% survival rate, that doesn't guarantee there's not going to be a flood or a fire that takes out a bunch of trees. So double up, triple up. It's so incredibly affordable. Thanks to Victor, and you can do this as a gift. And then I just want to say, so as we go into the holiday season where there's going to be a lot of air travel and there's going to be a lot of gift giving, let's give people gifts that really can make a difference. And that's my pitch. So I'm the CEO, so I have to do things to fund our partners and fund climate action now. And this is what we've come up with. There's no swag, there's no t-shirt or tote bag with the Climate Action Now logo that you can buy. In my view, the world has enough t-shirts and tote bags. Let's plant trees, folks, and let's deploy solar panels, and let's conserve the precious natural habitat that we have. And let's do that in this way and support our advocacy, Climate Action Now's advocacy, on behalf of future generations. So, you guys are stars. Thank you so much for being with us today. And let's see, Victor, if you could just stay with me for a few minutes afterwards in the panel breakout room. But for the rest of you, y'all rock, and keep using the app. And we got some really cool announcements coming your way. So stick with us. Thanks a lot, everybody.